So welcome everybody. We have Tuesday night, July 20th, and we're in week 8 for StartUp Studio. Thanks for joining. I'd like to welcome you to what I hope is going to be, and what I think is going to be, a really great program. So we have our special guest speaker tonight, our subject matter expert, joining us, and his name is Frederick. And he's going to be talking about marketing for startups, although there's a lot of different directions that he might take that discussion tonight, and I've given him free rein to pursue that.
I went to Penn State, graduated in 2013, studied advertising and PR. I started my first company in college. I really had no idea what being an entrepreneur was. I didn't really know what that term was at all until I started taking entrepreneurship classes at Penn State. So I was in Penn State, graduated December 2013.
You came up, you started earning your own enough to take care of yourself, or you were living with friends? What was your life like before getting phone repair Philly?
Yeah, so I was fired like April 2015, but I was still with Vortic for another couple weeks until they bought my equity out. So I got some immediate cash from that within like a couple weeks. Mm-hmm. I still had the phone repair company in Ann Arbor where I was working for Google.
And they didn't buy that from you yet? They're just doing that now? You said someone's buying that from you?
The repair company in Ann Arbor?
Yeah.
I was still doing this on the side when I got fired, and I was already making decent money with this.
Got you. Okay.
So I sort of doubled down on this, and I was going to double down on the watch company too.
Got you.
But they were like, hey, like we need to part ways. So I was like, shit, what do I do? And I was like, well, what's funny, I like to tell this story. Right before I got fired from Google, I fixed some guy's iPad, right? You never know who you're going to meet and run across. So always put your best foot forward. Even if you're having a bad day, even if you're in a bad mood, you never know what's going to come from it. And sometimes I need to, drink my own poison when it comes to that. But I was at Google taking phone calls and emails and text messages for people that needed their phone repaired. And I built the proof of concept for this phone repair company because I'd just done it and sold it at Penn State. So I knew the trick to this was building a quick and easy website as fast as possible, creating a Google listing for free, and getting a ton of 5-star reviews on Google. Meanwhile, like creating a Yelp and a Bing and a Yahoo and all that other SEO stuff. But I did those things as quickly as possible in a small community. So I was already ranking at the top of Google. So my phone started popping off within a couple months for phone repairs. This guy calls me, needs an iPad repaired. I go, oh, meet me at this address. He walks in, he's like, oh, isn't Google here? And I was like, yeah, I actually work for Google. He's like, oh, that's funny. I'm having an issue with my website. I wanted to rank higher at the top of Google. He's like, do you guys do that? And I was like, no, like we do Google ads here, but let me take your card. If I can help you, I'll let you know. And he's like, yeah, please do. I get fired like 2 weeks later. Call this guy up. How much does it cost? Can you do it? And I was like, I have no idea how to do it. But I was like, yeah, I can do that for sure. Like, it's going to take me like 3 months. It's going to be $5,000. He's like, cool, done deal. I sent him a quote, contract, approves it. Richard Branson says this a lot. He says, say yes, say you can do it, and figure it out later. And that's really important. It can get you in trouble, but like that will truly define an entrepreneur. If it's something that's feasible, it's not like, oh, like I said, I can build a rocket ship. I said I could build him a website that ranks on Google. So of course I'm going to say yes and figure it out later. But for an entrepreneur, if you put yourself in a tough position like that, where your back's against the wall, that's when like real entrepreneurs to me are truly defined. It's like when your back's against the wall. So I told this guy I could do it. Not only did I do it, I'd say those next 3 months of my life, I learned more about any one subject than I have my entire life, because I had to. So I just consumed it all day, every day. Watched videos, read books, listened to podcasts, tested, and figured it out and it works. Now I probably knew more then about SEO than I do now, just because now I'm like running companies, managing employees, and I know more about that than I did then. I know more about management now, but like, yeah, say yes and figure it out later for the most part. So that's what happened. So by the time I got fired from Google, I'd say within a couple of weeks, I was already making more money than when I was at Google.
And it's on a marketing standpoint, you mentioned something about your website. As soon as someone goes to your website, you have videos and more ads popping up on the user's phone. So I would ask, like, on a marketing standpoint, wouldn't that at a certain extent scare a prospect client?
For all of you that have a website, this is what I tell everybody. The main two things to care about are to make sure it's fast and it's user-friendly. Those are the main two things Google has been caring about more and more over time, because they notice our attention spans are tiny. Like, if a website doesn't load right away, like, people just don't go there. They think it's broken if it doesn't load in 3 seconds. And then once people get to your website, the first thing you want to do is quickly and easily explain your value and what you do, or you need to answer a question. It really depends on the type of business you are. So for me, for example, like my phone repair website, this is a quick and easy Weebly website I built 5 years ago in a couple days, and it ranks at the top of Google. So you don't need these crazy elaborate websites or anything. The main thing people care about when they come to my website, and it depends on the business, for me, how much does it cost? People want to call for a quote. And then the other questions they have are, can I schedule online? What are the prices? What locations do you have? And do you have any phones for sale? So I give them the first immediate call to action, which I have set up as a goal. And then I give them the underlying actions as well. But I also have like all the tracking and pixels and all that fun stuff. I mean, you name it, I've seen it with this business.
Okay. But you
I've-
survived.
Oh yeah. I mean, over the past 5 to 6 years, I've hired, trained, fired at least 100 people. I've been audited by the state. I've been audited by the IRS. I've been robbed from employees. I've been robbed from customers. I've been held up at gunpoint. I've had one of my employees stabbed. We've been broken into. We've been glass shattered during the riots. We've had people walk in. We've had homeless people cause scenes. I've had someone almost stab his eye out in the shop. I've had my own employees start a shop down the street from me. Like, you name it, I've seen it. And so why do I not want to franchise it? Let's lead into that question. I'm really over it. I'm over it. I'm over it. Like, I'm going to take my monthly profits and run from this business every month. It's just not worth it. And I think Philadelphia has something to do with it. Like, I think it's just, it hasn't been as easy here as it was in like college towns. So I've had to work my ass off, and I've been through it all. I've been in tears many times from this business. In terms of COVID, yeah, a lot of that happened during COVID. I worked during COVID. We were an essential business, so that saved my life, because doctors, nurses, police, they all have phones and technology. And yeah, we were able to stay open, but not all my employees wanted to work. They were scared or didn't want to come in. And so I shut down our slowest location, funneled people to our two busiest locations at the time. And one of them I was working at 12 to 14 hours a day for 3 to 4 months straight without a day off, because I didn't have people to work. I wasn't scared. I didn't want to put any other people at risk. I didn't have anything better to do, honestly. And I was still working at, doing momentum stuff on the side. So I'd work in the shop like 10 to 7, and then the outside hours I would work on momentum. It was crazy. It was a crazy time in my life. I'm sure it was for everybody.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you.
You'd mentioned before about how after getting fired from Google, a lot of the success was dependent on the rating system and the SEO. Was the effort to get those high ratings, was that an active effort, or was that kind of organic from people coming into the business and, you know, having a good experience and then wanting to, you know, give it 5 stars? Or was there, you know, more of a hey, here, rate us and we'll give you 20% kind of a thing?
Definitely the former, or the latter. People don't go out of their way to write good reviews. You have to blow them out of the water. And it really takes a lot to get blown out of the water with a phone repair company. Like, oh, I need my screen repaired. Like, oh my God. It's not like we had this crazy 5-course meal at some like awesome restaurant where it's like, I have to write a review. It was very proactive. Get a free screen protector. I don't even say give us a 5-star review on Google, because it's kind of against, like, you know, it's a gray area. We say, get a free screen protector, give us a shout out on one of these platforms: Google, Facebook, Instagram, or Yelp.
Testing Facebook ads, do you recommend testing audience or content first?
Ooh, that's a good specific question. I would test the content first, because you can test it very cheaply, and you can probably test it in a market that doesn't matter. So for example, you could run that Facebook ad in Africa for a couple cents per click and see which one gets more clicks. A, B, C, test it, whatever, see which one gets the most traffic. And you're like, oh, well, this one works the best. And so then you can take that ad or take variations of it and then run it and test the audiences based on knowing that visual works the best. First question, content creation. I would create content around how to connect X software with Y software, how to fix XYZ connection. I would make content multi-purposed. So for example, if you go to our marketing blog, you need to have written and video content. So you need to have a YouTube video showing how to whatever people are searching. So you could go on Google or do some keyword research around these softwares to find out what software people are having trouble connecting or having issues with, and take some of those keywords to create YouTube videos and show them how to do it using your software, like how to connect, you know, MailChimp to Google Sheets or something, whatever the case might be. And you would show them how to do it, be like, this is how we do it with our software. It might be complicated to do it with other softwares. You know, this is how to do it quickly and easily. They might ask you questions, but really you're solving a problem because people already have an issue connecting it. And now you've created a video showing them how to connect A to B, and you're basically plugging your software as the solution there. And then you're writing that. So you're showing up on the 2 biggest search engines, Google and YouTube. And Google's going to rank you higher in their search algorithm because you're already using YouTube within it. So that might get you some like rich snippet, like markup content as the first result on Google, depending on like what your search is.
Most important factors that Google uses to determine which website to put on top.
That's a loaded question. How much time you got? It depends on your business and your location. Like if you're a local service business, you got to think about the business. Like if you're an e-commerce company, that means you're national or international and you're selling products online. You don't have a local listing. But like if you want to show up for iPhone repair in Philadelphia, this is an on-demand business where people probably need something more immediately. They don't even need to necessarily look through my website. So for this type of business, it honestly doesn't even matter as much that your website ranks at the top of Google. What's more important is that your local Google My Business listing ranks at the top of Google. And so what you need to do for that is obviously you need to have a Google My Business account, which is free. And you can even post to Google My Business like you would Instagram or Facebook or anything like that. So you need to be posting to it regularly. You know, you should be posting like once or twice a week. You need to fill out all your information as accurate and as robust as you can. like your services, your address, phone number, hours, short name, services, products if you have them, descriptions, amenities, all this stuff. What's probably most important is then getting reviews and responding to those reviews. So like once a week, we're trying to reach out to clients or potential clients or people that know our brand to give us a review, and then getting keywords in those review. Like you see in the review here, it says website SEO, paid advertising. Google cares about that. Turning on your messaging notifications, which is new. Adding photos and videos, like you definitely want to have a lot of content, products and services. This is 50% of the effort, and I'm only talking about local SEO, and I'm only talking about Google My Business within local SEO. So there's so many factors here. Like if I go to Google and type in local SEO factors, there's a lot of like key ranking signals. But if you were to break it down into a pie graph, these are the things that Google really cares about on the local small business level. They say about 25% of it has to do with Google My Business, which is what I just showed you. So that's about a fourth of the pie. I think it's about half of the pie, if you were to ask me. They also care about backlinks, which are links to your website, which I think is less than this. Citations, which are like listings and directories, like, you know, Yelp, Foursquare, Apple Maps, Bing, Yahoo, all these like third-party sites. Personalization, this should go over with this because it's basically Google My Business with like how your name and keywords you use. Behaviors, like are you getting reviews? Are people clicking on your listing? These are just like different ranking factors. So if you want to talk about ranking in the map packs, that's my best like 2-minute explanation for it. If you want to talk about ranking your business website, this is more national and like regional than local. Local is like hyper local. So if you're a hair salon, massage parlor, like plumber, electrician, whatever the case might be, you want to focus on hyper local, because if I'm in Philly, you know, they're not going to give me a listing in Manhattan or even in Camden. But they might for the websites. Your website has less local significant, hyper local than your local listing. In terms of your website, it really comes down to your backlinks, your SEO, your on-page SEO, and your technical SEO. There's literally like a rubric you need to follow when doing SEO for a website. So it's like your metadata, your titles, your tags, your descriptions, your keywords, your internal linking, your external linking, your page speed, your alt tags, your compression, your HTML and CSS coding. There's a lot that goes into it. So for us, we charge more as a marketing company to do your website SEO than to do your local SEO. Local SEO is quicker, easier, and more valuable if you have a small local business, especially like a service business. And you'll learn a lot more about SEO from teaching yourself than listening to anybody in a class.
For after testing content and audiences, when it's time for testing headlines and copy for Facebook ads, would you suggest using, earlier I asked the question whether to target or to test content or audiences first, and you said test the content, and you can test it anywhere in the world basically, so just test cheap. Is that the same rule apply to copy and headline considerations for Facebook Ads Manager?
For Facebook ads, it's tough because of the language barriers, but you can target English speaking. And I know with Facebook ads, you can test multiple headlines, and then within the reporting, I think you can see which headline and copy, like you can test multiple ads and you can test multiple headlines depending on the type of ad. I think there's also websites where you can do some sort of user testing too. I haven't used any in a while, but I don't know. That's a tough question. I don't know if I have the exact answer. I'd still say test in a cheaper market. We don't run a ton of Facebook ads, so I don't know exactly, but also you could just do small user groups, maybe ask a bunch of your friends or people within the demographic of who you want to target to, like which ads look the best to them, maybe in like an email or PowerPoint or something.
Caroline put a question in the
Oh,
chat.
I'm sorry. Okay.
It says, what kind of marketing and ads did you run during your Kickstarter campaign?
We didn't spend any money on advertising. The secret to Kickstarter is already having buyers lined up before you launch it. So you immediately go to friends and family like days and weeks before, being like, yo, we're launching this, like you're buying something. And you're like, here's the link, you're gonna buy it when I tell you. And then you already have your PR lined up, like maybe your hometown news station, your hometown radio, like your school news, your school radio, some of the low-hanging fruit PR. Maybe have like an intern or somebody with you who can like do a lot of manual outreach for PR and news. And then it's just like, it needs social virality. Like for Kickstarters and like funding campaigns to work, they need to see that you have some serious momentum right off the bat, and then they're going to put you on like the suggested For You page so that more people see it organically. So that's really most of the marketing we did, is like texting a bunch of people, emailing a bunch of people, like a lot of manual BS. And then hopefully you get lucky and some bigger news story picks it up from a smaller news story.
Thank you, Mac, for joining us tonight. I know I really learned a lot, so I'm hoping the others on the call were able to pick up the gold nuggets as well, as far as some ideas and techniques and some strategies of what they can do with their business.
Likewise, this is fun. I'm glad we did it.